What's cracking, gamers? My name is Barlex, and welcome to Minecraft 1.21 features tier list. There has been a lot added to this update, so this is going to act as a video where you can kind of see just how much is being added and my thoughts on it. So let's get right into it. The way that we have this system broken down is we have diamonds as our S tier, emeralds as A tier, gold as B tier, iron as C tier, copper as D tier, and coarse dirt as our F tier. Just stuff that really sucks. First up is chiseled copper. This is one of the many copper variants added to the game, and honestly, I think it has a really unique look to it. There's going to be lots of other different things that I'm going to be covering this, but no block in Minecraft quite looks like this. It's got that kind of truss thing that I like to it, and obviously what's so cool about copper is that it oxidizes. For chiseled copper, I don't know how much I'm going to use it, but this unique look, this X in the middle of it, it looks like little support beams. I think it's interesting, so I'm gonna give it a solid B or a solid gold. It's good. I mean, just looking at it right here, like it is an interesting block, and I'm excited to see what people are able to create with it. Moving on to our next step, we have the copper door. And as you can see, this donkey, he's kind of like my feelings on it. It's an interesting looking door, don't get me wrong, but my thing about doors is, in Minecraft, we don't have a lot of good doors. We have the spruce door and the dark oak door, and that's just about it. The birch door is good, but I can't stand doors that just have these openings to them. If they do, then they should kind of look like a glass texture to me. So this, I mean, again, it's a nice design. I just don't like the Minecraft design of doors where you have actual openings instead of stuff that looks like windows or just having dedicated windows with glass in them. But I can't see myself using this much just because it doesn't look like it fully closes all the way because it's just clear in the middle. So with that, I realized that this could just be a me thing, but honestly, copper door, it's going in the D tier for me. I like the design of it, but if the door would just be fully closed off, that would be an easy S tier, and I would use this copper door every time, but I can't see myself using this in builds, especially for external doors or anything like that. So D tier is where we're going to have to sit the copper door. Adding to our little build here, we have the copper grate. Now the copper grate I think is awesome. This is another, just like this chiseled copper right here, this is a block that you don't really have in Minecraft. We have stuff like the iron bars where you can kind of build a barrier and see through things, but what I think is so cool about this, and they've used it explicitly in the trial chambers themselves, you have something like this. Something you can walk on and see through. This whole metal grate design I think is incredible. And again, because it's copper, it oxidizes. This is going to be used in a ton of my builds. I'm going to be using this as walkways. I'm going to be using this as partial walls. This has so much versatility. And again, because of the fact that it's copper, it's pretty much like you get 4 or 5 blocks in one. So with this, I'm going to be giving the copper grate our first A tier of the day. I think this is going to be used a ton. Again, just like the chiseled copper, it's very good. It's very unique. But unlike the chiseled copper, I can see myself using this in a ton of my builds. So A tier is where we're going to be sitting the copper grate. Now we move on to the copper trap door. Now again, trap doors, they're not something that I use often because if I have a trap door, I don't want to necessarily see through it. But the copper trapdoor is an exception, because as you can see, if I were to just put chiseled copper right here, this trapdoor becomes a window. And you can even make it a little external window like this, and the way that it's designed makes it look like an actual window with supports and a little porthole in the middle. It just looks really nice. And with that being said, I think this copper trapdoor, again, this was going to fill in a very solid B tier. I like this a lot. Not necessarily as a trapdoor, but as a window, I feel like this block is going to be used very often. As nighttime approaches, you're going to want a source of light, and what better way to look at that than with the copper bulb. The copper bulb, I think, is a complete upgrade over the redstone lamp. The redstone lamp still has its benefits, but the copper bulb just looks fantastic. This is going to be used a ton for me personally, because I can just see myself using this in just about every single build where I've got something big. I never really have utilized the redstone lamp like I should, and I definitely don't use torches or glowstone whenever I'm trying to build something big or official, so I've been stuck with just kind of using lanterns every single chance that I can get. The copper bulb, and especially with all of its different oxidization stages, it's going to give you plenty of options. I am so excited to use this. And with that being said, copper bulb, man, A tier, definitely. I am so pumped for the grate and for the bulb. These copper blocks, man, I was so excited whenever they finally added copper into the game, but I was really disappointed. But now, man, we have some really, really solid blocks to start our building journeys with. Now we move on to polished tuff. This, I don't hate this as much as I thought that I would. I love tuff as a block, but polished tuff, I was afraid that it was just going to look more of the same. But as you can see, this block and its color scheme fits uniquely into all of the different types of stone. So I don't know how often I'm going to use it compared to its other counterparts that I'm going to be showing you in just a second, but man, this is a pretty good looking block. Again, I don't hate this. I like this block, but I feel like a C tier is pretty good. It's an average block. It's a block that's going to get the job done. I'm not going to use it a ton. It doesn't have a specific niche. It's just slightly different color variation, same texture as a lot of the other blocks that are polished. But again, it's a solid block. It'll be used. It'll be used probably by me a good bit. Now moving on, we have chiseled tuff. This, I kind of like what Mojang has been doing with blocks lately. They've been making certain blocks be related to certain mobs. And as you can see by the swirls, these chiseled tuff blocks are going to be related to the breeze, and you can find these in trial chambers. Also, coming up to the top, they have little swirly patterns right here. And unfortunately, they're not directional. So they're not like logs. You can't have these kind of sticking out, and that's something I really, really wish that would happen, because man, imagine how awesome it would be if you could just have a wall with these kind of sticking out every now and then. I think it's an interesting design, but I don't see how often I'd be using it, and especially with that, you know, if this block were directional, it would take it up at least 2 or 3 tiers. Again, I think this is going to be an average block. If it were directional, it could hop all the way up into A tier just because you could have so many different uses for it. But without the use of making it a directional block like logs and other things where you can change how it's oriented, I think this block is going to be a one-trick pony, and I don't see it being used very often. So it's got a cool design, but C tier is about as high as I can give it. This could be one of my favorites of the whole video. Right here, tuff blocks. Let me just look at that. This looks like something that you would build. I love stone bricks. I use it for just about every single build, but tuff, this texture, the shading, the shadows, how it's just slightly darker, this is probably going to be my new bread and butter for everything that requires anything brick related. I absolutely love this block. I think it's fantastic. I think with the cave update and how they've made tuff far more accessible to where I can gather large quantities of it, this block is going to become heavily used by me. I think it's going to become heavily used by the community. I think this does what stone bricks does. I think it does what every other type of brick block does, but it does it better. Whoever designed this, put the shading, put the shadows, they need to get a raise. They need to get a pat on the back. Because look, if you take out this and you just make it one contiguous wall, it just looks fantastic. It looks absolutely fantastic. I am a huge, huge fan of the tuff bricks. With that being said, we have our first S tier of the day. I know that it's just a little bit of a brick block. I know that we already have a ton of bricks, but this does what existing blocks that are very popular do, and it does it so much better. For all the builders out there, I think this is going to become an absolute staple in everything that we create. And for a builder at heart, I'm so excited about this. This is going to be S tier for sure. As soon as I start my 1.21 playthrough, whenever the update fully comes out, you will likely see a castle made almost exclusively out of this. Fantastic block. This next item, and also just, can we just take a second to look at this world? I just spawned into a random creative world. It spawned me in the freaking meadows on top of a mountain, overlooking a gorgeous village in Cherry Blossom. I'm so mad that I haven't gotten this for a survival playthrough yet. I'm probably going to make a survival playthrough on this world, And I'm just going to feel like I'm cheating. But this is the perfect seed for literally anything. I mean, look at this. This is like a freaking island with a river. Oh my god. Anyways, let's get back to the video. But just admire this. Like, I'm going to play this with shaders. And I'm going to have like 18 missed calls from my girlfriend. Because I'm going to be playing this for like 20 hours straight. Fantastic seed. And now let's move into something that's... I don't know how to feel about it yet. So this is the first banner pattern of 2 that we get, and it's called Flow. Again, pretty nice looking. I think it's an interesting look, and I think for people that create banners, they're going to have fun with this, but again, there's something about banner creation as it exists today. I don't know. I don't feel like this is going to add something new or something super novel. It's going to give a pattern that banner creators weren't able to previously make, but other than that, what exactly is it doing? I mean, it's all right. It's cool, but again, I'm not entirely a fan. With that, I'm just going to go ahead and set this in D tier. Banner creators, banner lovers, you can tell me if you disagree, but just I need to understand what more does this bring to the table that doesn't already exist in the banner creating world. Because again, I don't really do that much at all. So I don't know what this is supposed to change, or I don't know if this is revolutionary. Our second banner pattern, and this could be more of the same, it is the Guster. This, I'm a little bit more excited about. I mean, this, instead of a swirl, it kind of gives an outline of a breeze, and I feel like that's a little bit more novel, a little bit more unique, and it can help you if you're doing something like creating a base, or if you want to create markings in a cave or along a path to alert people, hey, there's a trial chamber this way. I think this can do a lot more than that flow or swirl pattern, so I'm going to be a little bit nicer on this one, just because I think the design's a little bit better, and you can do more with it. This one's going to go up a tier because I think that you can do more with this. I think that the design's a little bit better, and it adds something a little bit more unique than a swirl does to the existing game. So with that, the Guster pattern, it's going to go into C tier or Iron tier. And again, look, we are standing on the other side of the mountain. There's a giant cave down there. I don't even want to look inside of it because it's just going to make me upset. But what we have right here is the Crafter. Now the Crafter, it is an automatic crafting thing. So if you do this, flip the lever, it's gonna shoot out whatever it is that I want to craft. So I could just craft some sticks, take those sticks, now craft pickaxes. I haven't been as deep into redstone as I used to be, but man, this is revolutionary. You can do so much with this. You can save so much time with this, especially if you create something like, I love using lanterns for my builds. This, I can just throw in iron, coal, and wood, and I could throw it into a machine and it could automatically craft all of them into sticks, automatically craft all the sticks and the coal into torches, automatically craft all the iron into iron nuggets, and then combine all of those and just have an infinite source of lanterns. And obviously it's not infinite, but however much I put into it is how much I'm going to get out of it. It's going to save time, and I love that for big builds. I'm not the biggest redstone guy, so I can't fully say without a shadow of a doubt that this is the most revolutionary thing, but it's big. It's big for sure. And I think it's deserving of a solid A tier. I wish that it could have been a little bit more automatic. I wish it could do a little bit more, but I understand that Minecraft is trying to add some of these features without it going big and over the top, but this kind of adds in if this would have added in one or two of those mechanics that you see in stuff like the Create mod, it would be an instant S+ tier. But I think this is a solid A tier. Probably the highest A tier that we have so far, if not an S tier. But I've just got to use this more to wrap my head around it, understand what all it can do, and it could be moved up to S tier, 3 episodes into my next playthrough for sure. The next thing, I'm just gonna lump these all in to save time, and especially just because, quite frankly, they're underwhelming, and that is the Scrape Pottery Sherd, the Guster Pottery Sherd, and the Flow Pottery Sherd. I am pretty disappointed with how Archaeology turned out as a whole. And the Pottery Sherd system, it's not exciting. It's novel, I guess. It allows some form of self-expression that wasn't previously existing in Minecraft. But finding Pottery Sherds as loot, unless I'm specifically going out for Archaeology, or unless they're specifically telling a story or doing something for the game, it's not exciting. It's underwhelming. I'm really not a fan of these, and which sucks, because whenever the Minecraft Live came out that showed off Archaeology and showed off caves and cliffs, I was excited for the new cave generation, but the Archaeology system was the thing that I was the most excited for, and it took years to come out, and once it finally did, unfortunately, I was underwhelmed, and I still am. And so for these, I hate to do it, but as it stands right now, these Pottery Sherds in Archaeology, they're kind of in the F tier for me. I can't really ever see myself doing anything Archaeology-wise, which sucks. Archaeology was something I was planning on doing before even exploring the caves or going up a mountain. This was the thing that I was excited for, and now it just it underwhelms me. And these Pottery Sherds, they underwhelm me. The decorated pots, they don't feel like something that players are going to go out of their way to do. They don't feel like things that people are excited about. And unfortunately, I'm underwhelmed. The next group of things, they all have to do with this, baby. This is incredible. The trial chambers. I mean, man, you could not have asked for a cooler structure. And I feel like this time, for the first time in a while, Mojang really, and I mean really, outdid themselves, and they didn't make a structure that was underwhelming or that underdelivered on their promises, because I thought bastions were going to be incredible, but they're just kind of a random mix of blocks that are somewhat in the shape of a building or a cave. But this has structure, this has challenge, this has multi-leveled approaches to it. It's incredible. I'm just going to use this copper bulb to signify the trial chambers, but man, for the trial chambers themselves, absolute S tier. I love them. I love this structure. I love how it's designed. I love the versatility. Whenever I was running around through there to record, I kept seeing so many new things. So this, fantastic addition. One thing that really impresses me is that these trial chambers adapt to how many players are playing. And not only that, they spit out loot compared to how many players are playing. And these things spawn in waves of enemies. It's not just an endless thing or everybody spawns at once. So the trial spawners themselves are fantastic. I love them. For the trial spawners, again, with its variability, with the ability for you to change it with the ominous stuff, for it to adapt with players and loot, again, S tier. Fantastic job. After you defeat a trial spawner, you have the chance of getting a trial key, which you can use on a trial vault, and it spits out loot. I think this is awesome. I think it's really cool. I think the fact that the loot is varied is a very good thing. My one issue with this, though, is that Mojang said they wanted to create structures where players keep coming back to. And I like that idea. I like how they're doing stuff with amethyst geodes, and like how they're trying to do with the trial chambers to create something that players keep coming back to. But my one problem is that this right here, you can only use the trial vault once. And I know that, you don't want players to farm and you want them to go out and explore and try and find other trial chambers, but with the type of loot that's being dropped from these trial spawners, I think it's very underwhelming. So that kind of factors into my decision here. With the dropping of the trial keys, I think the dropping of the trial keys, it is a very fair amount. It's low, but if you get into a room with a bunch of spawners, you're gonna at least get 1 or 2 of these keys. So again, I think that's a fantastic drop rate. I love the way that it looks. It looks good as a decoration or just something in your inventory. So man, S tier again. The Trial Vault itself, that's a little trickier. I like how it's not super powerful loot, and I like how it distributes loot based on one person. I like how the block changes whether or not you have one of those keys in your inventory. I like all of that a lot, but man, you can only use it once. You can only use it once, and for how great of a structure the trial chambers are, it's underwhelming. It's really, really underwhelming. So I'm gonna have to put this into B tier. Players can also drink this ominous bottle, and it makes any trial chamber that is active now an ominous trial chamber. So if we turn back right here, this will now be an ominous trial. And I'm going to go back to creative because I did not have any armor. But as you can see, more mobs spawn. They're more difficult. They have higher level armor. I think that's fantastic. And if I'm not mistaken, you have up to 5 different levels of Bad Omen, which means that you can have up to 5 different variations of difficulty in this. I think that's a fantastic addition. I think this is incredible, and the best part is, once you complete an ominous trial chamber, you get better loot, and you have the chance of getting an ominous trial key. The ominous trial keys are fantastic. I like this. I like that there's separate vaults for the ominous trial keys, and I like how they have their own designated spot. As you can see, again, the loot was a little underwhelming this time, but you still got an arrow. You got this item, which I'm going to cover in a second. Emeralds and a block of iron. Personally, again, I really like this trial key, and I like this block, the ominous trial vault. But again, my problem with it lies in the fact that you can only use it once. Maybe if you could only use it every couple of hours, like if it had an in-game tracker where you had to wait, maybe anywhere from 2 to even up to 5 hours of in-game time before you could use this vault again, I would support that. Because again, farming, you don't want people to just play stuff over and over and over again. But if you want a structure that people can truly keep coming back to, you have it in this trial chamber. It's big, it's challenging, it's memorable, it is a heck of a lot of fun. But the problem is you can only use these vaults once. I can understand where Mojang's coming from in it, but I wish they would do something to let you play it a little bit more. For the ominous bottles, I think this is, again, a fantastic addition. It's a way for you to go into a trial chamber and you can up the ante yourself. You can up that difficulty, up that challenge yourself. So if you're a seasoned vet Minecraft player like me, you're able to play something that is actually difficult to do. I think that's incredible. I think that is absolutely incredible. So again, I would put this in S tier. My only problem, now you have less risk in the game. And I don't mean anywhere related to trial chambers, but now the way that this works, if I am not mistaken and everything that I've read is true, what happens is whenever you kill a pillager leader that has the banner on his back, you don't get the Bad Omen effect. He just drops one of these, which means that there's almost no risk in encountering pillager platoons anymore, which means that if I were to go out and just clear an entire pillager outpost, I could walk right and back into that village with nothing wrong. I think that makes the game inherently a little bit easier. I'm not necessarily a fan of that. So, with that being said, it bumps it down to A tier for me. The ominous bottle and how you can get it in terms of encountering the pillager. But man, other than that, fantastic. The ominous trial keys. Dude, incredible. Again, nothing else to say, S tier. What you just saw me take was a wind charge. Now this is exciting. This is a new thing. It's kind of like what this mob shoots, and I'll cover him in a second. But this wind charge, it blows people around. I love the particle effects on it. I love how it's light damage. I love how you can just move these little guys around. It's awesome. It can also be used to help with you jumping or you breaking a fall. The wind charge, I feel like it's going to be used in PvP a ton, like a ton, and I think it's going to just be a really fun, interesting way to continue building on some of Minecraft's gameplay and movement mechanics that can sometimes feel a little bit outdated, but things like this, again, it's just fun. The wind charge, it's unique, it's fun, it's kind of novel, but I can't see myself using it much. It doesn't seem like a very situationally aware thing. I think it seems right now just kind of like a gimmick, so I'm going to be putting it in B tier. Now it's time to talk about the Breeze. The Breeze is the Blaze's cousin of the Overworld. I think the Breeze is a fantastic mob. I absolutely love the challenge and the uniqueness of him. Again, he's not the hardest mob. I wish that the Breeze was a little bit more difficult, did a little bit more damage, or maybe would have like something more of like a flurry of wind charges coming at you to kind of up that ante. Because again, this is the boss. Obviously, there's going to be multiple of them spawning at once. But this Breeze, I think he could just be a little bit more difficult. But man, I'll put some gameplay up here of me fighting him previously. It is so fun to take on the Breeze. And again, I think this is a valuable addition here. I wish the difficulty would be a little bit higher. For the Breeze itself, I think this is a great addition to the game. I think that it adds a lot of challenge to it, but it's a little underwhelming. I wish that he would have more of that flurry attack like I said, so I'll put him in A tier. One of my bigger complaints about Minecraft lately is that they don't have enough mob variation of hostile mobs. I think they did a great job in that with the Breeze and the Bog. The Bog is awesome. It's a skeleton, as you can see, he's all like bogged. I guess that's just the best way to put it. He is covered in swampy stuff, algae, moss, all that good stuff, mushrooms, and he shoots poisonous arrows at you. I think this is a great way to up the ante, to add some real challenge, because skeletons are hard, but if you have a swarm of these guys shooting poison arrows at you that not only hurt every time that you get shot, they also continually take away health, I think this is a fantastic addition. I really hope to see him more in the overworld as well, because this does add challenge, and I'm excited to see Mojang continue to kind of keep adding these hostile mobs, keep adding this challenge, because frankly, this is what I've been looking for in Minecraft. Now the Bogged, I absolutely love it. I like that it is pretty much just a skeleton with a lot more challenge added to it. I like the addition of the poison arrows. S tier. If you were lucky enough to survive an attack with a Breeze, which again, it's not the hardest, so you most likely are, you could get a Breeze Rod drop. And these are like Blaze Rods, but you can get a ton of them just from killing a couple of Breezes. I don't know how I feel about so many Breeze Rods getting dropped every single time. Maybe it was just very good luck whenever I was playing on the snapshots, but Breeze Rods, I think they're interesting. I don't know if I can put them very high, because right now they're only really used for one thing, and that'll be covered later. But I hope to see more versatility with this, either in this update as a surprise, which is seeming more and more unlikely as the days go on, but I hope this next update adds a ton of uses for the Breeze Rod, and honestly for the Blaze Rod. I want these unique mob drops to have unique effects. So Breeze Rod, it's exciting that there's a new mob drop added. I need to see more with it. For the Breeze Rod, I'm a little underwhelmed. I like how you can make the mace, but there's really not much else use to it, and I'm kind of disappointed by that. So for the Breeze Rod, honestly, this seems harsh, but I'm gonna put it in D tier. On that same note, the Heavy Core. This fella is cool looking. It's also cool looking because look at that. It has pink text. That kind of signifies that it's important. I mean, look, you got everything else here so far. Only thing different is music discs. This is pink. It looks important. I mean, look, even whenever I pick it up, it comes up slowly. It looks heavy. It's cool looking. Mojang said there's going to be more uses for it, and they say that this could be one of the more powerful things in the game now. That's exciting to hear. But again, I need to see more with this for me to really definitively say anything positive about it. Because right now, again, it's only got 2 uses. One of them I'm about to cover, and the other, just a decent looking floating orb. I mean, if you want to just put this as like looking like, it could just be like a pot on your stove if you're building a kitchen, but other than that, it doesn't really have much of anything right now. The heavy core, I mean, look, it's got pink text. It seems important, it seems big, but right now it's not. Quite frankly, it's not. It's only able to be used for really one thing. With that, there's nothing to it. There's nothing, it doesn't seem important yet. I'm excited to see what Mojang does with it, but for now, the best I could possibly give it is C tier. We have an exciting one. This is a new weapon, also with the pink, called the Mace. And the Mace is cool because if you fall and you hit something on your way down, you don't take any fall damage, and you absolutely murk your opponents. And there's a ton of particle effects. It looks cool. You feel cool. But if you don't time it right, you kind of mess up. But man, look at that. It also adapts to wherever you're around. So that last one had the particle effects of the stone. This one had the particle effects of the copper. I love that. I think that's a fantastic tool. I don't know how I feel about this being as powerful as a diamond sword. I don't know how I feel about it. It seems like this kind of is catering to a more sensationalist community of Minecraft where they just try and do the craziest thing possible, because the damage does not stop. It just continues to scale, and I think that's exciting. But I don't know how often this is going to be used in combat. I don't know how often this is going to be, like, this doesn't seem to me like an everyday weapon. This seems like something only able to be used for niche things or funny videos. So I'm looking to see more uses from this, because even just like a simple jump, it doesn't do it. You have to be falling for a little bit. See, it does it then, and it knocks everybody back. But how often in a regular combat scenario, I mean, maybe like right here, that would work. But if you don't have that kind of elevation, this is just a basic weapon. So I'm going to need to play with this more. I've already played with it a good bit. I'm going to need to experiment with this more to have a definitive opinion. But right now, this isn't necessarily a showstopper for me. I like it. I think it's interesting. I don't know if this is going to be a weapon that I want to put in my inventory, because I could be holding other more important things with it. Right now, it just kind of feels like a gimmick. I need to get my hands on it a little bit more. But honestly, B tier. Moving outside of the trial chambers, we're going to look at a couple more things. 20 new paintings were added to the game. I think that's awesome. I think paintings are really cool, and I like the fact that 20 of them have been added. It feels like forever since paintings have truly been added to the game. Some of them are funny, some of them are really, really pretty, some of them are odes to popular paintings like some of the originals were. I like that a lot. I'm a very big fan, but paintings don't necessarily excite me a ton. I'm going to give it a C tier because it's an average edition. It's just, this is another aesthetic thing that Mojang is adding. I like it. I like these paintings, but it's not something that I'm excited about, and that's not something that's like, I'm not thrilled necessarily. 3 new music discs were added. I like music discs. I think they're cool, but I don't ever really use them. And it's because Minecraft's music already is pretty awesome. It's cool. It's cool that they added these that can be found in trial chambers. I like how they have different outputs whenever are played in a jukebox. But again, it's just, they're music discs. It's just kind of, again, an average edition. I think all 3 of them can kind of just be clumped up right here. They're average. It's a good thing that they've been added, but it's nothing to get super excited about. Moving on to the final stretch, we have this effect. It's an effect of infestation. I think this is awesome. So check this out. Every time that you hit an animal or hit a mob or hit a player that has this effect, it has a chance of spawning a silverfish. That's super cool. I love that. And what I love about it is whenever you enter ominous trials, it will throw those potions on the player, it'll throw those potions on mobs, and it makes everything so much more chaotic. I think that's a fantastic addition. The next potion, Splash Potion of Oozing. And you can even look, it's got particle effects on and everything. And now, every time that a mob is killed, 2 slimes spawn on it. I think that's awesome. This next one is a Splash Potion of Weaving, and it gives the weaving effect. Check this out. Obviously, I could get a much more powerful thing, but I feel like it's kind of funnier if I do this. But look. After a mob is killed, cobwebs spawn. I think that's an interesting tool, and in the trial chambers, it's going to make things much more chaotic, slow things down when you do not want them to be slowed down. Finally, we have the Splash Potion of Wind Charging. So this little piggy now has wind charging. And what that does, upon death, a wind charge ignites. Again, that's awesome. I think all of these add a lot more variability to combat, and they make things more chaotic, and most importantly, they add a real, unique, novel challenge to the game. So with that, man, S tier. I think all of these are deserving of S tier because they add something to Minecraft that has never been done before. We've always had different types of mobs, but now we can make mobs that we've known for 15 years so much more deadly. I think that is fantastic. I think it's a phenomenal choice to be added into this update. The final 2 things in this update have to do with this right here. There are 2 new trims that have been added. This one that I just used was the bolt trim. And now this is the flow trim. So as you can see, this bolt trim looks pretty nice. And then the flow trim has a little bit more variability. It's a little bit more swirly, whereas the bolt is a lot more straight. But let me get a couple more of these. I'm gonna make the full sets of armor for you, and then we're gonna be able to compare them directly. All right, so on the left, we have the bolt trim, and look at that, man. It's just straight, it is streamlined, it looks really cool. And then the flow trim, it's a lot more subtle. It's got a lot more swirls, and what I think is most interesting is I use the diamonds on iron for both of these. But look at the different hues. Look at the different colors. I'm really impressed. To be very honest with y'all, I have not messed around with trims much at all. I have not looked at them. I have not really experimented with them. And I was planning on giving both of these kind of like a D or a C tier. But man, like, there's some real variability in this. And you can make your armor look sick. I'm a really, really big fan of both of these. With that being said, I think the bolt, A tier. Easy A tier for bolt. I love how that looks. I love how it almost looks serious. It looks dangerous. It's awesome. And then for the flow, it doesn't look as good in my opinion. It's a lot more casual. I think other players may be attracted to it more. It's not something that I would necessarily use in my armor as I see it right now. Maybe with other color combinations I'd change my mind, but it's still a good addition. So with that, I will put flow right here at B tier. All right, I know that was a lot. This video was way longer than I intended it to be. So to wrap things up, we're gonna go through the tier list one more time. In F tier, we have the pottery sherds. Underwhelming. In D tier, we have the copper door. If it wouldn't have had the windows, I would have liked it. Just, if it was this exact texture for that window, perfect. I've already told you about this. Just, I can't find a use for it. Breeze rods, you need to give me more. C tier, we have the tough blocks. I think they're all right. I can't see myself using this tough block very much. It doesn't stick out. This is a one-trick pony. This is an average. It's all right. I mean, it's better than the flow, this guster pattern, but again, it's just, I don't see much of the wow factor. The heavy core could be cool. There could be features, but there's nothing really right now. The new paintings and the new music discs, I put them in C tier because it's average. I expect there to be more aesthetic things for sound and visuals every single update. You're supposed to be doing this. I'm excited for them, but it's nothing that, like, it doesn't top anything else on this list really. So it's going to be a high C tier, but again, this stuff is expected. B tier, we have the chiseled copper and the copper trapdoors. I'm going to be using these pretty often. We also have in B tier the regular trial vaults. I think the regular trial vault's pretty all right, pretty good, but the fact that they don't give you super good loot and they can only be used once per player, that's upsetting. Again, we really need to encourage Mojang to balance this out. Even if it's, again, like a 2 to 8 hour timer, that's fine. But finding a place as cool as a trial chamber and only getting loot from it once, really, I feel like that really dilutes the full experience. Wind charges and the mace, I'm going to group these together. I think they're cool. They have a lot of potential. They add new stuff to the game. But right now, I don't see either of these things being something that Minecraft players are going to use for a long time. They just seem like gimmicks. The flow pattern for the armor trim, I think it looks cool. I'm not going to use it very much because I'm not a big trim guy. But I think players may like that. But again, it doesn't rank very high for me. A tier, copper grates and copper bulbs. Oh my goodness, these blocks are awesome. They're so cool. I'm going to be using these a ton. I love them a lot. I think they're great. And then the crafter. I think the crafter is revolutionary. I wish it had a little bit more of that functionality that you see in the Create mod where you can really, really automate things. But I think this is a good step in the right direction to kind of add some of that steampunk that people really, really seem to love in the modding community, adding some of that into Minecraft, albeit slowly. Ominous Potion. The only reason this is not the highest of S tiers is just because it gets rid of the risk of attacking pillagers. I'm very upset that the way that this is made kind of made it to where whenever you go and encounter a pillager patrol, it's not dangerous anymore. Because now they just drop this so you can trigger raids at your own volition instead of there being the threat of, oh, I need to get this effect off of me before I enter my village. It's just, oh, whenever I want there to be a raid to happen, then I can drink it. I'm not a big fan of making the game easier in that regard. The Ominous Trial Vault. I think the Ominous Trial Vault is fantastic. I like it a lot. I understand this one being a one-use thing, but still, maybe even making this one's cooldown 5 to 12 hours of in-game time. I don't like the fact that the entire trial chamber just seems to be diluted by as soon as you go there, as soon as you get every single vault, it's done. These structures are way too cool to be only really valuable for one playthrough. The Breeze. I think the Breeze is great. I have a lot of fun fighting it. I wish it was harder. I think if they added a flurry attack where it shot multiple wind charges at once instead of just kind of one at a time, that would add some challenge. That would put it up into an S tier. But right now, it's more of just a pushover mob. And again, like the mace, like the wind charge, these are cool additions to the game, but they just seem like gimmicks that are ultimately not going to be hard like this mob and not going to be used like these tools. Now, the bolt right here, this armor trim, I think it's fantastic. I love this one, man. It's super cool, really unique, really, I like this a lot, and this armor trim design is probably going to get me into exploring what all you can do with armor trim just because of how cool this one was, and because now that I'm going through all these features, I'm realizing I kind of neglected armor trims whenever they first came out. Coming up here, the tough bricks. Beautiful. They do everything that every other brick block does, but better. One of the best blocks I've seen Mojang add to the game ever, in my opinion. Right here, I have used this, like I said, I've used this oxidized copper bulb just to be a representation of the trial chambers themselves. One of the great, actually no, I'm going to say this right now. The greatest structure in Minecraft, period. The greatest structure in Minecraft, period. They knocked it out of the park. The variability, everything about this is fantastic. I absolutely love it, and I love the design. I love the challenge. it makes Minecraft hard for the first time that I can remember. And I've been playing Minecraft since it came to the Xbox 360. I absolutely love this. Then, the trial spawners. Again, the trial spawners, revolutionary. Revolutionary. I love the trial spawners. They're fantastic. I really can't say enough good things about them. The trial keys, S tier. I love the design. I love the mechanic. I love how whenever you walk up to the vaults open and they kind of get particles around them. Everything about that is so cool. The bog. One of the coolest variations of a mob I've seen. This is the exact type of mob. This is the exact type of adding an additional challenge and an additional little change to an already existing mob. Perfect. And finally, we have this right here. All 4 of the effects he used. Man, these things are fantastic. I absolutely love them. I genuinely think that they're revolutionary. This adds something to the game that has never existed before. Having mobs be able to have effects on them, having those effects be dropped on you and dropped onto mobs during these chaotic, ominous trials, those are fantastic mechanics, and I absolutely love it. I want to see more things like this. Mojang, this is one of the greatest additions that you've ever added to the game. This is one of the greatest ways to add additional challenge. I love it. And now, here comes my rating on 1.21 as a whole. As you can see, it's a lot more top heavy. There's a lot more things in S tier and A tier than lower, but some of these things in the lowers are important. Like, for example, the breeze rod, the heavy core. Those things should not be in C and D tier. And I understand that they're going to add more functionality as things go by, but I wish that they would add more than just the mace right now. I want them to tell us what this is supposed to be. And again, the big knock right now is that, and also again, it's just those vaults that I don't want to find a cool trial chamber and only have it be viable for loot once. And I know that each little spawner gives its own loot, but in the grand scheme of things, those pale in comparison to what the vaults do. So if there's just any way that Mojang can balance it to where maybe that they give it after a certain amount of time, even if it's a very long time, I think that's a much better alternative than just kind of ignoring things flat out. But overall, I would say this update as a whole, which will be represented by a diamond, as a whole, this update, it's going to be solidly an A tier. I think this is a great update. I was excited for it whenever it first came out. My excitement kind of dwindled as time went on. And then the more time that I got to spend around these features, I got excited. I think Mojang is cooking up something very good on their hands. There's a couple things hindering it from being in the S tier. But as the sun sets, you can look at this tier list for yourself. There's a lot of things that we should be really excited about. So that just about does it for me. Look at this tier list. Tell me what you think in the comments down below. Do you agree with this? Do you disagree with this? Do you like this style of video? I would love to hear your thoughts on this, especially if you're people that like to do armor trims or banners or pottery. Tell me if you disagree with me. I would love to hear from people that play the game differently than I do and see, am I crazy about this? So again, that just about does it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, y'all take care.